Welcome to Chapter 19, Part 2, Native American Cultures in Crisis. For this first part, I want you to complete all the slides through slide 10. Answer the questions as you go on a separate document, in Google Docs, or on a sheet of paper. At the end of the presentation, through slide 10, I want you to consider these three essential questions and write down an answer to each of the three. What does the West represent to both American Indians and the settlers? In what ways did the cultures of the Americans and the American Indians conflict? And how do culture of the settlers and American Indians differ? Describe several ways or areas in which they do. There are many different types of Plains Indians. It was the Plains Indians who relied heavily upon the bison for their livelihood, and it was also the Plains Indians who resisted the white attempts to push across westward into the Great Plains into their territory. The Plains Indians had their lives destroyed by the settlers, cattlemen, cowboys, pioneers, and homesteaders who all wanted the Great Plains to themselves. The sad story has to do with the bison in general. The bison had to be there for the American Indian cultures to exist. The great herds were not decimated by the settlers overnight. The slaughter was a gradual process, reaching full momentum in the 1870s. It started with the Indians who relied upon and hunted buffalo for thousands of years. Without the arrival of the whites, and with them the gun, the horse, and the market for bison, the Indians probably could have lived perpetually with the bison. But with the horse and the gun, which plain tribes received from their southern neighbors, who in turn received them from the Spanish, they were able to kill the buffalo with greater ease. As market for the buffalo emerged in the 1820s, the population began to decline. The establishment of reservations by the federal government was an attempt to tame Indians and their nomad lifestyle and to establish clear boundaries between Indian and non-Indian lands. Some treaties protected the Indians' rights to hunt buffalo in perpetuity, so long as the buffalo remained. But at first the Plains inhabitants, the Indian and buffalo, had to be removed. This fit in well with the U.S. government's agenda of civilizing or assimilating the Indians. Their nomadic way of life, dictated by migrations of buffalo, deer, elk, did not lend itself to European notion of private property ownership, and flew in the face of wide attempts to fence and segregate tracts of their land for individual use. Cattlemen formed alliances with the U.S. Army, the railroads, and Eastern bankers to rid the western range of both the buffalo and the Indian. In 1800, there were estimated to be 60 million buffalo roaming the United States from coast to coast. By 1894, however, there are estimated to be 25 bison in the United States remaining. Frederick Jackson Turner is a prominent historian who coined the term the frontier and described the American West. Please read the excerpt entitled The Frontier by Frederick Jackson Turner and think about how his writings contribute to historical thinking today. He was also one who stated that by 1890, after the battle at Wounded Knee, or the massacre at Wounded Knee, that the frontier was over. What do you think he meant by that?